Hey, welcome to the Homestead Huddle for May 2026. This is where we talk about all things farming, homesteading, permaculture. If this is your first time here, basically we're going to take the next 35 to 45 minutes, answer some Q&A, talk about what's really going on in the gardens across the US and across the world in various growing zones. So we'll start off, we'll talk about the three most important things that you could be or should be doing in your different growing zones. And then we'll jump into questions. This month we've got, let's see, nine questions. These all come from our Patreon community. So that's our homesteading and mentorship program. So if you want to go check that out, you're more than welcome to. There's a free 7-day trial where you can have an all access pass to over 50 classes and PDF documents in the library to help you starting or continuing in your homesteading and farming journey. So we're going to jump in this month to first talk about the top 3 things. If you live in USDA growing zones 3 through 8, those are those colder climate, temperate climate growing zones. What should you or could you be doing this month in the garden? Now, if you've been following along earlier this month and have been reading through the gardening calendar that's free on the website, you're probably already going on that. I'm, working through my list a little bit. You know how it is. You get people coming and going, family stuff that comes up, and honestly, gardening sometimes takes a little bit of a side seat. I was talking to my parents the other day. They're up on our family homestead up in Michigan, and they're finally unthawing. They're hopefully, knock on wood, done with the freezes. Memorial Day is a little bit earlier this year, so they are outside in the garden, in the food forest. They're working on the fruit trees. So if you're in those temperate climate growing zones, there's 3 things that I would be doing if I still lived in Kansas City, Missouri, this month in particular. So if you can't get to anything else, don't worry about it. These are 3 things that you can hopefully really easily do. So the first thing in zones 3 through 8, I would be looking at making sure everything is mulched. So refreshing your mulch, your straw, your wood chips, that sort of thing, in the garden, in the food forest, around the orchard, even in the animal pens, making sure those are fresh and ready to go coming into the wetter spring rainy season. Now, there is a little bit of nuance when it comes to what type of straw or what type of mulch to use. So a general rule of thumb is if you're looking at a soft stemmed plant, use a soft stem mulch. If you're looking at a hard stem plant, think about a hard stem mulch. So for example, in the garden, most of those are soft stems. So we're going to use a soft stem mulch like straw, grass clippings, chopped up leaves. The reason why we want to do that is when those softer stemmed like grasses decompose, it creates a bacterially dominated soil structure, which is what most vegetables prefer. So that's why we're not using necessarily wood chips in there. We want to save those for the food forest. So the benefit of those wood chip mulch, when that is decomposing, it's creating a fungally dominated soil structure, which the fruit trees prefer. So if you've got a soft stem plant, use a soft stem mulch, say that 10 times fast. If you have a hard stemmed plant, use a hard stemmed mulch. The second thing that I would be focusing on if was still living in Kansas City is spring deworming of cattle, poultry, other livestock. Now you can go at it from the traditional route using things like ivermectin, which is a great course of action. I personally use Joel Salatin's method of deworming. So I use a product called Basic H, and I have a full video on how to deworm the cattle and that sort of thing on YouTube, so you can check that out. But this is a great time of year to deworm coming into spring in the cooler climates because you're about to get very wet, which is where bacteria thrives. Those parasites, the worms are going to thrive in that environment. A lot of times early on in the spring, it's very dry before rainy season hits, which stresses the animal's body. So when their body is stressed and then you automatically and very quickly introduce that wetter environment, that's where disease thrives. So the deworming of your cattle, poultry, livestock is incredibly important this time of year. And I always follow up after any type of deworming program the next week or 2 weeks later with reintroducing good, healthy biology back into the animals. So I use the SCD probiotics bio livestock. There's a link for that on the website that you can check out because it has a lot of different types of probiotics that are all grown together in one mother culture. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, and then you're repopulating the gut's microbiome to be able to have healthier livestock throughout the rest of the season. The third thing that I would be doing in USDA zones 3 through 8 is this is kind of the last end of your window of like your major annual planting, cover crops, food plots if you're doing deer and that sort of thing. You don't have to freak out about it right now. I would say get it done by the end of the month. You know what I mean? So time it based on rains. I really like to let rain be in the forecast for a day or two, or have yourself and your hoses and drip lines available to help them get over the transplant shock. But if you don't get them in by the end of May, then you're pressing having enough time to really have a really good, bountiful harvest before that cold weather comes back. And I know that's super triggering to talk about snow coming back, but I'm trying to get it in for you so you have a really good, really successful growing season. So again, those 3 things for USDA zones 3 through 8, refreshing your mulch, spring deworming of cattle, poultry, and livestock. And then number 3, your annual planting and cover crop planting, hopefully by the end of the month. Now, if you are in USDA zones 9 through 11, there's 3 things that I would be focusing on in those warmer climate zones. So I'm here in Central Florida. This is applicable in Texas. I have a lot of clients in San Diego, Southern California, Arizona that are doing all the same things. And we're all in full on get ready for crazy summer mode. I mean, the summer Florida heat, I hate to say it, it has finally arrived. It feels like Florida summer, now. So it's work time in the morning, it's a little siesta time in the afternoon, and then it's a little bit of more work time in the evening. But the 3 things that I'm really zeroing in on this month, first of all, and I think, to be honest, is the most important to me, is probiotics for everybody. I'm talking all flora, all fauna, all your plants, all your animals, everybody be getting the probiotics. So I, again, I've used the same brand for 6 years now. I don't even know. It's been a heck of a long time. I use SCD probiotics. So with my livestock, I use bio livestock. And then out in the garden, I use bio ag. If I'm making my own mother culture, ProBio is a great option. There's a link for all 3 of those at permaculturefx.com. The reason why I like to use probiotics this time of year, now in Florida, it's been very hot. It's been very, very dry. We're in severe drought. My area in particular is still 26 inches below average right now. We need 26 inches of rain to get us out of the drought. So this is the worst drought that we've had in a few decades. And I get it. Like, it seems like every storm, every whatever that comes in, it's like, it's the worst one we've had since da-da-da-da-da. I don't know what you believe about climate change. Climate's rough. Whatever you think is causing it doesn't really matter. But the reality is it's hot right now and it's dry right now. And my animals are feeling it. My plants in the ground are feeling it. The plants in the food forest are feeling it. And probiotics and those microbes are going to help strengthen the immune system and help regulate immunoregulation within the animals or the plants themselves. So if you don't want to use those, you could use worm castings and compost tea out in the garden. You could use other types of probiotics with cattle and livestock. But I think getting them what they need when their body is stressed right now is super important, later in the season. I don't want to get into 110-degree heat, which is coming in a couple months, and not have my animals or my plants be at their best. So getting that probiotics to me is number 1 most important. Second thing that I'm thinking about in USDA zones 9 through 11 is my summer legume planting. So if you're thinking in the pasture for goats, for sheep, for cattle, for donkeys, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, you're probably thinking cowpea, field pea, that sort of thing. You still got a little bit of time to do I don't know, like hairy vetch, lesbideza, Korean lesbideza. You could still get some of those things in this time of year, but it's been a little challenging. With the drought, germination rate has been low. If you're not watering, even 15 to 30 minutes when you first get those seeds down every single day for the first 7 to even 21 days will really help increase the germination rate. But I would say getting those summer legumes in the pasture or even as cover crops. So if you're done with your annual vegetable gardening, which in Florida, we're kind of done. By May, we're wrapping up annual vegetables. Now, can you do it? Sure, you can, but you're going to be pulling your hair out. There's not enough coffee in the world to get me to do gardening, annual vegetable gardening in Florida in those summer months. It's just too hot. Like I ain't got time for that. So for me, I cover crop a lot. So my cover crop of choice is sun hemp. Juncea crotalaria is a really good one. Very high in its nitrogen fixing ability, even higher than red and crimson clover. A lot of soluble and digestible fibers if you're rotating cattle and livestock through it. So sun hemp is really my go-to for both pastures and even in annual vegetable beds. And then I would till that under probably mid-August to get ready for September annual vegetable season. So then the third thing that I'm getting ready to do the next couple weeks, I haven't started mine, so if you haven't started this either, no sweat, is grafting and air layering. So what a great time of year if you've got mulberries or longan or lychee or avocados, a lot of those tropical fruit trees love to be air layered and grafted right now. I'm not going to get into the how-to of that. If you are a Patreon member, there's a full class on how to air layer. I was doing what was I air layering? A Marcus pumpkin avocado. So it's a really big, small basketball-sized avocado, and it's not that nasty Florida avocado. So it's not that watery, waxy junk. So it's a really good, avocado of choice. So I give you a full tutorial on how to graft and how to air layer on those. So if you're in USDA zones 9 through 11, got a couple weeks left of the month, we're doing probiotics number 1, legume planting number 2, and then grafting and air layering. You can follow the class on Patreon for that as well. And it's going to be a good rest of the month in the garden. So for those of you that have farms and have homesteads, for the next half hour, 45 minutes or so, we're going to jump into some good questions. I think they're good questions. These all come from food foresters, gardeners, homesteaders, farmers in real time this month. So this is what they are really asking, what they're really doing, what they're really thinking about. And I'll be honest, I learn stuff all the time. I mean, I was listening the other day to a podcast on vermicomposting, and I was like writing down notes as fast as they could talk because there's always something to learn. There's always a way to polish, a new method to try. So even if you've been farming for a while, these next questions might be something that you share with your farm staff or with your homestead staff, just to give them a little bit of polish points for the month, because this is really what we're doing. This is really what we're thinking about. So I'm going to go through these 9 questions. And then if you have any follow-up questions, you can ask those in the comments below here on the tube of you or wherever you happen to be tuning in from. So question number 1 for the month of May is, when fertilizing in a food forest or in a garden, do you have to pull the mulch back? So this question actually came from my mom. So if you're on Patreon and you see mom on there, that is my actual mother. That is not somebody's just screen name. And I learned gardening a lot from my parents, and we're all still learning. My parents are still learning. My grandmother is still learning. We're all still learning this journey, because nature is incredibly and wonderfully complex. So when we're fertilizing in a food forest or a garden, and this is mainly talking about whole ingredient amending. So we're talking about blood meal, bone meal, feather meal, azomite, green sand, that sort of thing. So these whole ingredients, do you have to pull those wood chips back, then put the amendment in, and then push the wood chips back? Okay, in the ideal world, which none of us live in, yeah, it's a great practice. I think it's a great practice because it prevents your dog from getting in it. It gives it direct contact with the soil, so it's going directly into your soil structure. In an ideal world, great practice. Now, in reality, if you've got 5 or more fruit trees, it's a pain in the butt to bring back all of those wood chips, put your stuff down, push it all back. It just takes too much time. So to be honest, it is going to seep through the wood chips. You're going to be okay. So if you just sprinkle your bone meal, blood meal, feather meal, if you're using a faster version like Espoma Organics Tree Tone, that's my favorite fertilizer for my fruit trees, just do it on top of the wood chips. It doesn't look as pretty. You are going to see it on top. Now, if you do have an animal, you got to make sure they're not eating it. Now, is bone meal going to hurt your dog? Probably not. They eat bones and whatnot anyway. Is blood meal going to hurt them? Probably not. Could it give them an upset tummy? Yeah, probably is going to. So if you're concerned about your animals being in the backyard, sure, go ahead and bury them. But by and large, it is going to soak through the wood chips and it is going to be bioavailable to the plants. I would say the one thing to remember is we don't focus on the trunk of the tree when amending. We focus on the drip line. So go out to the very edge of the canopy, straight down, and that ring, that circle is where you want to apply your amendments. The reason for that is most of your feeder roots are not at the base of the tree. They're not at the trunk of the tree. So a lot of people will throw that down in the first 6 inches around the trunk thinking, oh, I don't want to waste it. I want to put it around the tree. Well, the roots that are eating are those hairier roots that are outside at the edge. They're reaching and they're looking for food. So the other reason that I want to do that is not because it's more bioavailable at the drip edge, but also I want my tree roots to be reaching and growing. I don't want my roots to be super comfortable in a small, compact area because then I have a small, compact root system. I want a vigorous root system that's going out and stretching, going for its own nutrients, going for its own microbes, going for its own probiotics. So even when you're watering, think drip line. So we're always going out to that edge. You get a sip of coffee here. So question number 2, for those, especially in Florida, that lost trees to a frost and they're starting to come back from the base, how do we move forward with this weird type of growth? It is weird and it's ugly. I was watching a friend of mine, Patrick Lang, Grow Your Own Florida. If you're not watching them on Instagram, please watch him. Got some great content. I was watching, he had an mango tree the other day that was an older, more established mango tree, died to about 6 feet down. Now it's just sprouting out kind of all over the place. I have the other day, I kid you not, 3 days ago, I went out and looked at a pot that was like in my graveyard area that I thought it was like doomed. It was an achacha, which is kind of mangosteenish flavored. And it just now started putting leaves out. So if you haven't thrown them away yet, don't do it. Don't cut them all the way out yet. They still may come back. Now, when they do and they're producing this weird bushy-like growth, this is not the time to be cutting them back. Let your tree decide what it wants to do. Bamboo is going through the same thing. For those of you on Patreon, Shanti Pierce, one of the absolute most global experts in bamboo and silvopasture, created a great video for us about what to do with your booze, with your, not that kind of booze, but your bamboos, this time of year. And the answer is really nothing. Like let nature, let these plants decide what they want to do, how they want to grow, give them time to recover. So it's like you get out of emergency surgery and the ER, you're not going on a diet and a wellness plan right away. You're letting your body heal. You're stabilizing. You're giving it a little bit of time. You're not running a marathon. Like just give these plants some time, give them some space. I'm not actually even cutting them back and deciding what my new lead is until some of those branches have hardened off. So when you have that great green growth, that is cue number 1. Congratulations, your tree is alive. Just step back, give it some space. Give it water, give it nutrients. In a couple months, when you see them hardening off, now you can decide, do I want this to be a formal upright tree again? Do I want it to be bushier? You can decide if you want to grow it espalier style. But just give it some space. So it's not the time to decide. It's the time to love on it, nurture it, water it, give it the fertilizing regimen, lots of compost and foliar sprays. So as far as how you deal with it, give it some space. Just love on it a little bit. So question number 3, how do we water sand, especially in California, Arizona, and Florida that has become hydrophobic? So hydrophobic means when you water it, the water just runs off the sides. It's not soaking down in. Really good question. Now, this happens in pots. This happens in the ground. So it can be a challenge, especially right now when we're in a drought. So strategy number one, water a little bit, walk away. Water a little bit, walk away. Let the water barely soak in. I mean, I'm talking it'll soak in an eighth of an inch the first 3, 4, 5 times that you water. Now, you can speed that up by adding a surfactant, fancy name for soap. I use Basic H. You could use 7th generation, no scents, no fragrances. You could use Dr. Bronner's would be a great choice. A few drops, and that surfactant is going to help that water soak into the soil. Basically, that means the soap makes the water wetter. That's basically boiling it down. The second thing that you can do to helping that hydrophobic soil is by adding organic matter, which I think, yes, that actually leads into question 4. So I would say let's stop question number 3 is we're adding either we're watering slowly, adding a surfactant, or we're adding organic matter to the soil, which brings us to question 4. Question 4 is, what are the best ways to improve really bad sandy soils? So a couple ways that I like to improve soils, and you know me. Number 1, chickens. Chickens and compost are like the answer to every question to me. I got bug problems in the farm, chickens and ducks. I need more organic matter around the farm, chickens and ducks. You know, to me, it's bring those animals in because they're cycling nutrients. They're taking what's above ground, the insects, the weeds, the leaves, the whatever, and they're composting machines in their body and they're putting it back into the soil. And that's adding the organic matter to the soil. So I would say number 1 is animals, rotate animals on the soil. Number 2 is if you don't have animals in your system or you're in a suburb and you can't, find a way to add organic matter. So what the organic matter is doing is it's building the humus, not humus, that's different, in the soil. So you could do composting methods, you could add whole ingredient soil amendments, you could run your mower over an area and get some high carbon leaves mixed with some grasses that are higher nitrogen, and you're basically covering it up and you're composting in place, and that's going to build your soil. Nature on its own can only build organic compost in the soil at a rate of about an eighth of an inch per calendar year on its own. But with human involvement, we can go so much faster. So if you're in Patreon, there's a full PDF of composting methods. There's another one on vermicomposting. There's a class on those. There's a class on the 18-day Berkeley method. So if you want to go super, super deep into that, that would be the classes that I would be using in the search menu there on Patreon. Question number 5. What are some tips for spring and late spring ginger and turmeric planting? This is the time of year, y'all. Was that 5 years ago? I went on my addiction journey. So I allow myself one healthy addiction a year because I ain't got time for any unhealthy addictions. So the last 2 years I've cheated. Mulberries have been my addiction. As many mulberry varieties as I can collect. The year before that, it was loquats. A couple years before that, it was ginger and turmeric. I did not realize there was more than one kind of ginger. I thought all turmeric was the orange, curcuma from the grocery store, and I was so wrong. There's a ginger and a turmeric for pretty much everything. So I love the shampoo ginger because you squeeze that cone, the awapui if you're from Hawaii, squeeze the cone on your loofah and you've got shampoo and body wash. The black and the blue turmeric, the Curcuma sacea SE is really, really good for its anti-inflammatory properties. So it has 5 times the curcumin levels of any other ginger and turmeric in the world. So if you're thinking of, cancer, polymyalgia, fibromyalgia, that one is like your go-to for it. If you've got headaches and migraines, the green turmeric is really, really good for kind of upper body stress, migraines, neck pain, back pain, that sort of thing. Mango turmeric, it tastes exactly like it sounds. Like it's that mango gingery kind of taste. So think Indian foods and curries with a little bit of ginger in it. It's like, y'all, now we're cooking with peanut oil. It's just good stuff, So this is a great time of year to be planting your gingers and turmerics. If you want to go to the grocery store, great. I would say go to an Asian market. I love the Latte, Lotte Plaza Market. If you're near Orlando, has got some really cool varieties. Great time to do your gallon gals, both the lesser and the greater gallon gal. So this is a great time of year to be doing that. As far as tips go, honestly, set it and forget it. Ginger and turmeric don't like attention. They don't like to be fussed with. I would say if you've killed your ginger and turmeric before, you probably loved them too much. like you probably watered them too much, you fertilized them too much, you composted too much, you just paid too much attention to them. They love to be set and forget. So mine grow under the canopy of an oak tree. I'm talking 90% shade under a live oak tree. I put them in the ground, like the same width of the bulb. I do that amount underground. I covered them with a few inches of compost wood chips, and I walked away. And then I harvest in February when they die back. Don't love them. Don't pay too much attention to them. Now, ginger and turmeric are not going to like a lot of sun, especially the harsher, more afternoon sun in these warmer climates. If you're in the Midwest, zones 3 through 8, growing ginger and turmeric as an annual, rock the full sun. But here in Florida, mostly shade. They're going to do way, way better in that mostly shade. So again, I would set it and forget it. Don't water them a bunch. Don't fuss with them. Just when you walk by with your coffee, don't make eye contact with the ginger and turmeric. Just keep on walking, beloved. All right. Question number 6. Also, I'm amazed that I can read my own handwriting some of these times. Sometimes I actually can't, and I just make up the questions. I'm just kidding. Question number 6. What are the benefits of having decorative lights around a property? Are there any drawbacks? Now, first of all, I'm all about the vibes. I love the Edison bulb twinkly lights. I like uplighting on trees. I think it's inviting. I think it adds a lot security-wise and just creating kind of that safety perimeter, around your house. There's a lot of benefit to that. So for human sake, we enjoy it. I think the lights invite us into the garden. They invite us to be in our space at the end of the day and enjoy our space. And I think at the end of the day, the more you're connected to your space, the healthier your garden is going to be. You were created to steward the land and to steward your garden, to steward your home, to help your family grow. So the more that you are connected to it, the healthier the space is going to be. So if lighting outside is going to invite you to enter that space more, I would say rock it. From a practical perspective, it does disrupt animal nocturnal rhythms, their circadian rhythms. It does mess with insects. That's a lot of the reason why we don't see fireflies the way that we used to. We've taken away their habitat. We've cut down the meadows and the prairies and the grasslands. We put up a lot of lights outside. It messes with the moths. So when all of those moths are going to your porch light, guess where they're not going? Out in nature. They're not going to get food. They're freaking out because there's a light there that should not be there. And they're all in attraction and attack mode. So this also does mess with the photosynthesis of your plant. So when you have that light on, even though it may be a warmer spectrum and it's not causing maximum photosynthesis, mostly from the red or the blue spectrum, it still is causing photosynthesis on some level. So your plants aren't regulating their circadian rhythms and their rest cycles as well, which taxes the plant's growth process. So I would say, and even true for humans, I would say if you do want to have lights, and I do, you can probably see some outside. I have lights on the dock. I have lights around the house. I have lights in the garden. Here's how I regulate that. So first of all, I choose a warmer spectrum. The warmer spectrums, the more orangey colors, are far less damaging to the insects, the songbirds, and animals' natural rhythms because it's not giving you that blue light daylight spectrum. Secondly, put them on timers. You don't need them to be on all night long. And, unless you're having a party, unless you're having people over, you have guests and they might come outside. Sure, on occasion, have that as an option. Number 3, I would say choose motion sensors. So you don't need to have security lights, probably in most areas that are on 24/7. So have them be motion sensor activated. Or number 4, choose weekends only. So for me here on the river, I think it's a beautiful thing to look across the river and I see my neighbor's lights on. It just shows community and it shows connections. I love looking at the Christmas lights, in the winter time. I think that's great. But I turn them on Friday and Saturday only, just because that's when most people are visiting the river. So I would say do what's right for you, do what's right for your family, be sensitive to nature, you included. We need downtime. We actually need pure dark for us to sleep well, for nature to sleep well, for our plants, for our animals, for the bugs. So do what's best for you, but also be aware that you are a part of this ecosystem. You are not separate from your natural ecosystem. Question number 7, I'm going to get a sip of coffee because it just helps. It just helps. It helps with better questions. It helps with better focusing. I'm not going to slurp it because that's that weird like ASMR trigger thing. Drives everybody nuts. So question number 7. When is the best time to apply foliar sprays? If you're in USDA zones 3 through 8, I would say anytime during the growing season. If you're in USDA zones 9 through 11, yesterday. Like literally apply foliar sprays any time of the year, whatever you got. It could be probiotics, it could be fish emulsion, it could be sea kelp, it could be compost tea, it could be Korean natural farming, it could be JDAM. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And there's drawbacks and pluses and minuses to all of them. Not really drawbacks. There's benefits to all of them. Your kelp is not going to be a fertilizer that's helping with the uptake of nutrients and minerals specifically. Fish emulsion is going to be a very, very light nitrogen boost. The probiotics, obviously it's adding probiotics and microbes, which do absorb through the leaves and the cambium layer of your trees. So you can literally spray the bark and the trunk on those trees, and it does absorb through the cambium's vascular system. So there's a lot of benefits to all of those. So if you want to go a little bit deeper into it, this coming week, we're doing the class on Patreon on different types of foliar sprays, how you use them within your system, how you brew them. There's a shorter version of a basic spray on YouTube, and there is a kind of a ninja master recipe for foliar spray on YouTube as well. But we're going to do a longer 45-minute class coming up here in Patreon in the next week. Question number 8, and this is, inspired also probably by those of you that watch. And I have bird feeders everywhere. I'm a bird nerd, y'all. I'm a nerd in general, but today we're just going to say bird nerd. So question number 8, if I hang bird feeders around the yard like you, aren't they going to eat all my fruit? They are going to eat some of your fruit. Yeah. But the reality is you're not going to keep birds out of your system. The birds are going to be on your property unless you live in a biodome. If you live in a greenhouse, great, then you have no problem. If you live in any open air system, then, birds are going to be in your system. So I like to give them their space and then I get to have my space. Now they don't know boundaries the way that you or I might, but it does gravitate them to that type of an area. Here's why I like them. Number 1, there's really good research. And if you saw the last 2 classes ago, there's a really good research study called the sonic bloom theory, where the song of birds in anywhere between 400 and 5,000 hertz, when it interacts with soil biology, increases the yield and also the blooming of the stomata of the plant at a significant rate. So it's not woo-woo science. Probiotics and birdsong actually help your plants produce more fruit. There's actual science and studies by it. I also like bird songs because it does control insect population, insect worms, caterpillars, the pesky bugs, so it does provide insect control in my annual vegetable garden, but also in the food forest. And to be honest, I just like the way birds look. I like the way they sound. It brings me joy, so I do it. So yes, they do eat some fruit, but to me, it's a cost-benefit analysis. I would rather have them a part of my system, eat a little bit of fruit, than not have them a part of my system and have less fruit production, more bugs and pests and insects, and less joy in my life. So, it's kind of like coffee. Could I skip coffee and do those like mushroom-only coffees? Sure, I can. but why would I take the last amount of joy that I have in my mornings away from myself? Like, I'm not going to do it, you know? So it's like, could you eliminate the bird feeders? Yeah, but you're just going to have a better time in your food forest if you keep them. That's my thoughts. I mean, argue with me, fight me on it, you know, whatever. It's my podcast. I'll say whatever I want. Number 9, last question for the month. With the drought in a lot of southern areas, how do we adjust our field planting? Oh man, y'all, field planting, pasture planting, it's been hard. It's been a year, you know what I mean? But in farming, there's always going to be something. You know, there's going to be a bug, there's going to be an insect, there's going to be a pest, there's going to be a disease, there's going to be a drought, there's going to be a hurricane. We're going to have a problem. We just got to not get stressed about it. We just pivot. We just go, you know what? I'm going to adjust a little bit. I'm going to do my best to steward the land, give it what it needs. So by and large in Florida, normally by now, I like to be done with all field, food plot, and pasture planting by mid to end of April. That has not been the case this year. It's been so dry. So last month in the huddle, we talked about staggering our plantings, which I'm still doing. I'm not planting every seed that I've got all at once in the fields and pastures. I'm staggering. I'm still putting stuff out. I planted 5 days ago, I planted another round of Happy Hen Mix from a Hancock seed company, awesome Florida seed company, family-owned business, that I put another round out the other day. I'm getting ready to do another round tomorrow because even though normally I'm done, it's been so dry. So I don't want to have no seed. So yes, if you plant now, your pasture is going to be shorter. It's not going to have as long of a growing system. It may not have the normal germination rate, but some is better than none. So I would say still do it if you still got seed. One thing that you can do if you're doing pasture and you don't have a no-till drill, which I think is a phenomenal option, also phenomenally expensive. You can rent those, by the way, per day. I would just go to a farmer next door who's got one and say, how much would you charge to, you know, no-till drill my fields? I'll supply the seeds if you can do it for me. You know, you can do a few 100 acres in an afternoon. Like, it doesn't really take that long. If you don't have a no-till drill, you could also cross-hatch. So do a row or two, skip a row or two, do a row or two, skip a row or two. And then in a couple weeks, instead of going north to south, do the same thing, but go east to west. So you're going to have some plots that didn't get done. You'll have some little squares that have been double hit, and you'll have some that just got planted the first time. But at least that way you've diversified your investment and you're going to have something. So yes, it's been challenging. The challenges, man, the challenges are real. My farming friends that are doing cattle and livestock are just going, well, it's going to be a year where I'm buying a lot of hay. It doesn't have to be. You can still do a lot of things. Now, also in USDA zones 9 through 11, y'all be planting those perennial things around your livestock edges. So outside of the pastures, you can grow Napier grass. I'm not doing this in an annual vegetable garden, but Napier grass will grow 17 feet tall in 60 days. That's a round bale, like a $95 round bale. And you can, which is ridiculous right now, by the way, because BC, they were like $45 delivered, but that's a soapbox we're not going to get into. Some of you just got really triggered with me. But that's a round bale. So you can plant a Napier grass in the matter of a few months. It's going to be 17 feet tall. I never even let it get that tall. I put cattle on it, or I chop it and drop it and use it as mulch. The moment it gets to be 6 feet tall, chop it and drop it. And there's a lot of options like Napier. So you could do Napier grass, you could do Mombasa grass, you could do Mexican sunflower, both the rotundifolia or the diversifolia. That's a Tithonia rotundifolia or Tithonia diversifolia. You could do elephant grass. You could do Turk's cap hibiscus, not as horse friendly, but still horse forageable for fodder. You could do mulberry. There's so many things that you could be doing. There's a whole other class free for anybody If you go to the Obsessed with Plants page on YouTube and you can just type in livestock, and there's part 2 of a full class that we did at the previous farm that I used to run that gives you all the information on that. So a lot of really good, really great options. You don't just have to do pasture planting. So think pasture edges. You can grow a lot more vertically than you can horizontally out in your pastures. So those are the 9 questions for the month. Hopefully 1 or 2 of those was helpful for you. As always, to help get this information get into the right hands, and it really helps me out as a channel. If you could hype it up, do the social media thing, just take 2 seconds to do that, or share it in your favorite gardening group. That just really helps me grow as a channel. So as always, thank you so much for taking time and tuning in. A special thank you to the Patreon community, those several hundred folks that are doing the monthly mentorship, the classes, the PDFs, the exclusive content. Thank you so much for being a part of that journey. You can always leave additional questions from the Homestead Huddle here in the questions below on whatever platform you are tuning in on. As always, have fun, and I will see you in the garden.